Welcome everyone to tonight's SAGA session. For those of you who haven't joined us before, this is a recurring event kind of thing where we invite different speakers to talk about the subject about board game design. And if you haven't heard of SAGA before, it's a new Swedish annual game design award. And let's see. Yes, these SAGA sessions are a collaboration with Studiefrämjandet and the Swedish Discord channel Speldesign Babbel as well. Okay, and tonight we will listen to Kristian Karlberg and Kenny Zetterberg, who will talk about their game design workflow. From idea to pitch, idea to prototype to pitch to product. And I think it will be really interesting, and we will listen to them for 45 minutes roughly. And after that, there will be a Q&A session if you have any questions for them. Yes, without further ado, I will pass over the word to Kristian and Kenny. Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
I will just share my screen here. Let's see if I can do this maybe. And then just boop.
Yeah,
you can see it. It's just a bigger picture.
So the way I and Kenny started to work together is that we, at first, of course, we were doing our designs solo, and we met at a Speldesign, like a meetup, a game design meetup at Chalmers.
Yep.
And I've been working on my game for like 5 years, and Kenny, you had been working on yours for
something like that, 5 years or so.
And I guess we kind of found each other that we had the same, ideas and ambitions of game design. Sometimes people just want to make games just because it's fun. Whilst I and Kenny, we want to make game designs as a job, maybe sometime in the future, hopefully. So that's how we met, and then we started to do some ideas together.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we have strongly in common is that we want to make like elegant systems. Maybe bigger games, but we want the systems to be elegant, not to over complex things.
Yeah, going theme first is not our strong suit. We tried that a couple of times, and it's well, there are games made out of them, but it's not the most fun way to design games. Systems are way more fun.
Yep. So how do we work?
It's in Swedish.
Perfect. We will talk about it as well, Jasper, so don't worry.
Yeah. So as I said, we both have an ambition, which means that, before when we were doing the solo stuff, we were only working like weekends and nights, which is kind of rough because it takes time to do design stuff. So we actually have Thursdays off from our regular jobs, and we design games all Thursday. And then we do digital tabletop simulator stuff on Sunday nights. And having this full day do stuff, that's when stuff happens. That's when we get stuff done. And it's a risk, right? It's a financial risk because we're not working with our day jobs. But for me, working with my job, I'm working my job just so that I can have these Thursdays, so I can design. That's why I want to. Yeah, I want to design. That's why I work.
So having a cut in income allows us to work on game design, which hopefully will earn its way back someday in like 50 years or something like that. We'll see. We'll see. And we also have the time to schedule to play games, which is 1 to 2 nights a week. Sometimes we play together and sometimes we play separately, because one thing that we understood quite a while ago is that to learn game design is to also play finished games, also not just prototypes, to see what works. And for me personally, I try to anticipate or guess how the game will work before I start playing it, because I believe that if I can do that, then I can maybe design the way that I want it to work. How can I create the right incentives and so on?
Yeah, and apart from like playing these games in these different groups, of course we get to play very different types of games. I kind of don't like dungeon crawlers or adventure games, but people in my group like that, so I have to endure and play those and learn things. So you have to sometimes you have to play games like real time games, which I hate.
Real-time memory.
Yeah, but like real-time games I hate, but I have to occasionally what do you say? Utsätta mig för det. Yeah. Endure. Yeah. And apart from those games, I and Kenny, we talk a lot. We can't shut up. We can't stop talking about game design. So I guess during lunch breaks or like oh, do you have time for a call? Then we'll talk, and then we have some ideas or some problem we've been trying to fix, or just regular design talk about emails to respond to, or we got some response from some publisher or something that need to. Yeah, so there's a lot of contact, of course, when you're working close together like this.
Yep. And the cool part is that sometimes Kristian can come with an idea to me, and I misinterpret it and say something completely different, which gives him a third idea. And that's where the magic happens. Like, what are the interpretations between the ideas? And
I'm describing something mediocre. Kenny misinterprets that as something amazing, and then we do something even better together. So it's difficult to describe design stuff over the phone, but gets our imaginations working.
Yep. And so what has this been resulting in? We have been hired to do design work, actually. There was one scholarship for the Karlskrona, a game about describing the history of it and describe how the city became the World Heritage that it is today, which we were paid by the hour. No, not by the hour, but a fixed amount for the whole game.
I think this is like a really important, like if you want to try and make money off game design, you can't just rely on doing design work and hoping that it gets published. Having the work for hire stuff is difficult to find it, but I think once you're in it, it's easier. Like everything, right? As soon as you start to network and know people, then everything gets easier. And so because we did the Karlskrona thing, then Kenny had some contacts and they were looking for someone. And I was like, oh yeah, Wildred did this. So it was easy to get the network for hire stuff, which is about the Swedish forestry industry, right?
Yep, exactly. How the situation is not sustainable at the moment, and they need to address it.
So those two are important stuff. But other than that, I made some self-published stuff through Kickstarter, and that's where I started with my design journey. But after that, realized like I can't take 6 years to make a game. But then when I and Kenny started to do stuff, now we're like pumping 6 games every year instead.
Yep, more or less.
Yeah. So our biggest game is published by Hasbro and Avalon Hill. That's our only current published game, but it's a big one. So it's a Dungeons and Dragons game called The Yawning Portal. But then we have a couple. Well, what is it? 4 or 5 now. Signed games that are to be released sometime when the tariffs are not crazy. I don't know. And of course, we have games being evaluated currently by publishers. We always try to have something being evaluated by someone, so that something's always cooking.
Yep. So enough about us. Let's talk about the process of how we're working. So there are like 3 or 4 main stages to when we're working. The first one is very early, very, very, very early, and we will show you some pictures later on. So we're just going to mention these very briefly and dive more deeply into them later as we go on. At the first stage, we work with like blank pieces of paper. We just scribble onto blank sheets of paper, creating playboards.
It kind of ties back to what you said about like imagining how this game would work when you just first set up a game that you don't know how it works. We kind of do the same with components, like set everything up and start playing around. Feel the toy factor, like how does it feel? What do I want to do with these components?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just to one of these slides. Like this is what the games could look like when we're in the early stages. Like some are just sketches, but we still move components around when we do stuff.
Yeah,
we try to imagine how the game would be played. And this takes practice and experience. So the more you practice by doing it, like the better you get at it, for sure.
And for me, it's always about table presence, right? So I want the game to look pretty on the table. So most often it starts with putting up the components in some interesting way that makes the game enticing for people who appear to look at some pictures of the game is going to look interesting.
Yep, exactly. When we're in this stage, we just, as we said, like we borrow components from other games, use dice, regular dice. That like nothing needs to be fixed, or you don't have to have numbers and stuff yet. Like just pretend that it has a cost or whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes we just play with blank cards.
Yep.
And it looks insane because, I'm playing a build something which also has a discount, and it's just a blank card. But it's
we just pretend that we get stuff, the cards we need, for example. And what we do with this is that we want to test out the flow of components. How does the component flow throughout the board? Do we have too many cards in our hand? Can we have a grid of 12 by 12 cards on the table? Probably not. So you can rule stuff out very quickly. And as you said also, Kristian, like we had this bullet point here, toy factor, or the table presence part. Like how does it feel? How does it look on the table?
Yeah, and what do I want to like this component I'm holding on to? What I want to do with it? Do I want to stack it on something? Like, what's the fun thing to do? Like poker chips. If you put a bunch of poker chips in front of someone, surely someone will stack them, right?
Yep.
And start playing with them.
Yep. This is one insane. Like, what does this even mean? Like, I can't remember because it was so long ago.
Yeah. But this is something at the time, surely.
Yep. Yep. So the second stage is where you have something playable. Oh, also, we didn't mention that in the early stages, we don't play a full round. We maybe just take a few actions, see, does the components move like we want it to?
Is this something I want to continue to do for like 4 rounds or 12 rounds or whatever?
Yep, exactly. And the second stage is the first playable prototype. This is where we try to have minimal artwork, or like not even artwork, it's more graphics, sort of say. We use data merge a lot, and we will get back into what tools we use. But we try to create the actual component we think we will need, and try to test it as in the simplest form possible. And this is just you and me, Kristian. Maybe some other designers sometimes.
Yes, there's a Borås spelkonvent, which always happens during when it's time to submit games to festival, for instance. And that's where we usually take like rough prototypes that looks like this and try it on some real people.
Yep. You see on the image on the left side that we have printed something onto the cards, but they're just blank stuff. It still says just ability because we don't know what ability it is on the card yet. However, it has some kind of cost to it and stuff like that. So it starts to emerge what kind of components are needed. But we keep it super simple, like the one in the top right.
Yeah, and then at the bottom right we have more of a concept of how do we want the game to look. It's more about table presence again, to see like, yeah, we want to have this skyline thing. But I think the game on the very top there is we played in Borås. I think that's on the next slide.
Yep.
Where we have these are our dream team. We don't know their names. But for some reason they always play test super early versions of our games and come with great feedback. Yeah, but this is super important to of course playtest games with people who haven't seen your game before.
Yep. And at this stage the game is playable. It has flaws for sure. It's definitely not balanced, but it works, around works, and the whole game, it has an ending as well. And we are pretty experienced now. I would like to say that we can make sure it's not an infinite game that never ends or stuff like that. And at this stage in the design, we're not afraid to like just quit the playtests early, for sure. And especially when it's just you and me, Kristian.
Yeah, and most often it's just me and Kenny who's sitting and doing the stuff. Like first we do the physical prototype. I think it's coming on the next slide. Maybe let's see about so more physical prototypes. Then of course when we feel happy with the tests we've been doing with other players, mostly in Tabletop Simulator, then I like to dive into the artwork and design stuff. This one is handmade, but it's more fun nowadays to use AI stuff to make the prototypes pretty. And there's a risk to that too. You don't want to make the games too pretty, but we usually add that prettiness when we feel that the core mechanics are solid, that everything is working, and it's helping the game to tell its story.
Yep. And this is the same game actually than the desert game that you just saw. So we try it out in this cheap graphics version to the point where like, okay, so we have a game here. We have interesting decisions to make in the game. It has an arc to it somewhat, and an arc means like how the game changes, how some kind of the incentives change throughout the game, like
or escalates or becomes more like, yeah, we're weak in the beginning and we become stronger and stronger and stronger until we're like climax and do something powerful, amazing at the end. That's the ambition, at least.
Exactly. Another example is the classic engine building. Like, how long do you build your engine before you start going for victory points instead in some kind of deck builders or stuff like that? So when we have a functioning system, Kristian usually starts doing the graphical work, and something happens to the game when it starts to look pretty instead of just being PowerPoint graphic styles.
And for sure, the artwork sometimes helps to, like when you add the theme to the game, then you can start to like take the theme and the mechanics and find more cool features. Of course, it's very important to match the theme with the mechanics. That helps a lot when you're playing the game. This one is very abstract, this game. Like it's area control over markets, but having it's area control over areas, but having markets and merchants trying to work in these markets, it just helps to sell the area control a bit better.
Yep. I'm just going to skip back to the one of the previous, the list one. Yeah, and as we said, going back to the bullet points, like this is where we get to this point when we know that the core is functioning, the structure is there. Like we just need to refine the game and start testing with more external playtesters.
Yeah, and at this time we scrap all the physical prototypes. So we're not using physical prototypes anymore after that. Now when we know that the game works physically, we do the rest of the development inside Tabletop Simulator, because we know that the tactile stuff works, the feel is nice, you can read all the icons and everything. So we move all the games over to TTS. Yep, we have some TTS slides there as well.
Yep. Oh yeah, so this is our published game, the Yarning Portal, Dungeons and Dragons Yarning Portal. This is what the game started as, with the backside of the playing cards. We're just imagining what the game could be.
Again, with the table presence, like, oh, this looks nice.
Yep.
So what are we doing here? And then
a few weeks later, we had some idea of that it should be some kind of table with something eating stuff from the table and requesting something. And that's what the game became. Yeah, we already show you these.
Oh yeah. Sometimes we design games that are bad and make poor design decisions. And this particular game we did for Festival, and I think we spent like 500-600 hours into it. So we spent a lot of time on this game, but we polished it quite a lot just because it was going to be a playable game during Festival. And here again, we just start with really rough stuff. Then we add more and more. Like we have some printed cards there, and then we eventually add some artwork, I think, right?
Yeah. This is a dungeon crawler game. I don't know if you could tell by this one, but at least here the dice have developed into meeples.
Yeah. So for us, it's really important not to start off with too pretty things. I mean, we make pretty things, but sometimes people complain that, oh, these look too polished or something for being a prototype, but they look like shit from the beginning. Like, this is what we're working with, like just abstract shapes, more or less.
Okay. So this is the third level, something like that.
Yeah. Now it has icons on the, and this is
the finished prototype.
Yep. With 3D printed stuff and a gimmick with the black color that absorbs a lot of light. This one's shelved right now. And then, of course, now this is its current state. Now we're back to basics again, more or less.
Yep.
Trying to fix things that we got feedback on that wasn't working. So now this is how it looks now, today. Where we're trying to make the game work on 2 and 3 players. But we haven't worked on this game like for a year now. So maybe someday we'll pick it up again and continue.
Yep. And this is a recurring, not recurring theme, but like we're not afraid to shelve games that we're not excited to work on anymore.
Yeah, it's super important that at least one of us, or doesn't really help to have one person. Like if both of us are excited to work on a game, that's when the magic happens, right? Then that's when we do the quick iterations of the games and we can get quick results.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and then we have so many projects. So this is the TTS, the first page of TTS, with a bunch of different variants of games, and some of these are worse than others, for sure.
Yeah, and from these, like we are actively working on or pitching like 6 or 7 of these, and you're working on even more.
Yeah. So I have a couple of other co-designs on the side and some solo projects as well. And Ken has a solo project as well. So there's even more design stuff outside of what I and Kenny are doing.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I wanna when we use Tabletop Simulator, I don't know if you guys heard of vibe coding. I haven't coded in years, but I used Claude AI to make this little tool. So with this tool, we can add decks of cards, tiles, and tokens into Tabletop Simulator quite easily. But I can show this during the FAQ, I think. But I'd like to share that tool with you guys.
Yeah. So in short, maybe you describe it. When we have the assets, what do we do? What does this do? Just in short.
Yeah. Okay. So we have all of the cards and tokens and stuff when we make the Tabletop Simulator stuff. Before, it used to take quite a long time to import those into Tabletop Simulator. What this tool lets us do is where we first we need to upload all of the files to somewhere like a web server or something, and then we can say like, okay, I want a deck of cards where the name of the card is card 1 and the 50th card is card 50 and the card back is card back, and then it's just going to generate all of those cards for us into TTS. But I'll show you that when I can share my screen.
Yep. So it generates it converts the assets, so it's imported immediately to TTS basically.
I can get so many cards, so many different decks of cards into TTS in a matter of minutes, instead of spending hours like we did before. Like at the beginning when we were using TTS, it's quite horrible to get stuff in there.
Yep. And once we start getting the game kind of finished, like we start to focus on the rule book, especially before we start pitching. During the design phase, or like the first 1, 2, and 3 phases, we have the rules maybe noted down in bullet point form, or very loosely at least.
Yeah, sometimes we put them in like note blocks inside Tabletop Simulator, like just write some rules there, or even on the board, we just type some text.
Yeah.
But then we have a Discord as well where we keep all of our projects. So we have a text chat for each game where we can just write things, rules, things that needs to be fixed or done or whatever. So there's no really rule book written at any time, which is maybe a bad thing. For sure, you can always write your rule book at the same time, but I feel like most often it just ends up changing so much that you need to rewrite everything again.
Yep.
And again and again.
Yep. And when we start working with not designing, but writing the rule book, Kristian, you pretty quickly create what do you call it, like a
template, or not a template, but like a
structure for the rule book.
Yeah, exactly. So I make some boxes for examples. So like we know what examples we want to show in the game, and we have the headers. So we simply make the rule book, but with the nonsense in it.
Yep.
But with only the titles, and then we edit. We export a PDF with the nonsense.
Yep.
And then we comment in the PDF with what should be there.
Yep. And while he's doing that, I'm trying to put down the rules in text form as quickly as possible, because you will have to rewrite the rules maybe 5 to 10 times in order to make them really, really clear. Like this is removing so much what do you call it, friction for the publishers if they are reading your rulebook, if that's your goal, or for any person reading the rulebook. And what I've tried, started experimenting with is from our Design Thursday. I live like a 30-minute walk from Kristian, and when I go walk from him, I describe the rules for the AI. You
dictate. You dictate for ChatGPT, right?
Yep. And I prompted him. I've fed several rule books of our rule books to the AI, so that he or she knows the format, the structure that we want. So I can just describe the flow of the game and then he could just write the rules for us, or at least the brief or the, what do you call it, like the
like the
overview.
structure. Because the amazing thing, like, we love to use AI, but not for like, oh, give me a game. That's not what it's for. But it's especially for this, like, dictate the rule book, and it's gonna give you a structure that makes sense. Like, what are we doing in this game? It sounds like you're describing phases, so it's gonna break it down into phases, and just jump starts the rule book writing process, because now you have like a proper structure of everything.
Yep.
But of course, it doesn't. All the text it has written is kind of shit, so you need to rewrite all of that. But the structure is super helpful.
So one example is that I had a it's basically a card game with numbers and numbers and colors. So I call it number color game, and I describe the rules, and I asked them to understand the flow of the game and understand the player experience. And he listed it down like that, and then I said, we feel that this should be this game should have a theme like family dinner. Could you add that into the rules and extend all of the I'm missing the words, like the analogies, or whatever you call it.
Yeah, like how do you tie a theme to whatever we're doing here? Like,
could you add some elements? That's where you are rewarded or punished. Could you add a thematic touch to that element of the game? And he said, like, yeah, this is a potluck. This like a knytis in Swedish.
Yeah, like when you bring food together and share food, everyone brings something to the table and then share.
And he just added it, and added very flavorful text and sentences to describe stuff. It was amazing. Like, you should really, really try that.
Yeah, like, using AI tools can be frowned upon, but because we're not publishing the games ourselves, so we're not that worried about. I mean, we're using it as a helpful tool. It's not writing the rule books for us. It's just a tool for help.
Yep.
And also for like spell check. Of course, we use the spell checks used in InDesign, but sometimes we mess up and like reference things that are no longer in the game for some reason. Like in one game, we still have we have bread as a resource, which we haven't used in a long time. And when we fed that to ChatGPT, it said, "Why are you talking about bread all of a sudden?" Like, and I mean, a spell check doesn't catch that, but ChatGPT does it. All right. So once we have the rule book and the game finished, it's time to make. Of course, the goal of this is to pitch these games to publishers. We often do this during Essenspiel, but in order to even get these meetings booked, again, it's easier now with some doors open. But at the beginning, well, I mean, as a publisher, would you rather read a sell sheet, or would you rather look at a 1-minute video of the game? And most people would want to look at a video. So this is an important step of how we get contacts with publishers. And when we make a pitch video, we write a manuscript. And it's important that these pitch videos, they need to be 1 to 2 minutes, no longer. And this is not a rule. Like, this is not the rules of the game. It's just like, give us the unique selling point, show us what makes the game cool. Does it have a cool table presence? Show that. And at the beginning, when we were doing these videos, we used to film them with like an iPhone on a real physical copy of the game. And then we did some voiceovers with like just recording our voices. But gradually, we learned that we can save so much time by just recording the TTS videos, and even going from voiceover to using AI voices as well. So we're basically writing what the AI should say, and they have better pronunciation at English than we do, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
Should we show some of these pitch videos?
Yeah,
All of them.
How much time do we have left?
We can show them in the end if people want to see.
You have plenty of time, so that's nice. That's cool.
Yep, I think this would be a good time to. Oh, maybe we save it for the
I
end.
think you have 15 minutes left or something like that.
Yeah, because these are not maybe 2 minutes each maximum. If people are interested.
We can share them and we can talk about why we did them like we did.
Yep. Let's see if does it still work.
Yeah.
And let me know if you can hear the sound.
No sound.
No sound.
We can figure that out afterwards.
Yep. Let's do that later.
So for Essen, which is when most of our pitch meetings happen, or in fact, that's all the pitch meetings we do. We never do pitch meetings outside of Essen, except for maybe digital ones through Tabletop Simulator. But this is through contacts we have learned or gotten from Essen. When we contact the publishers, our emails look like this. Hello, hi Anthony. I hope you had a wonderful summer. I and Ken have a new game we would like to pitch for you at Essen Spiel. It has the video, a rule book, a picture, and some information about the game. And also, because we're making the pitch video is recorded in Tabletop Simulator, we think it's super important to show them that this is actually a real physical copy. There's a physical copy of this game as well, because that was not clear at some times. People just thought it was available digitally, but that's why we added more pictures of the game in action on a real table. So pitching for publishers. After we have sent the emails, we book some meetings, and hopefully you have the option to pitch to some less important publishers first, so that you can practice on your pitch. Of course, you should practice on your pitch before the meetings as well, but for sure you will be better at it on your 10th pitch than on your first. So always try to book the more important pitches after you had, like maybe on day 2 or day 3 or something, so that you can nail your pitch in your sleep more or less. And then it's about professionalism, right? If you're gonna meet with a publisher, like study them. Like, what games are they doing? Like, are you pitching them a kids game? These guys are doing adventure games. What are you doing? Like, and who are you meeting? Are you meeting with someone else that you haven't spoken with? Like, try to do some research. It's gonna make everything much more smooth and more professional. And the most important thing, a pitch is not a rules like playthroughs thing. It's showing them what you're doing in the game.
Yep. Respect the publisher's time. Like,
yep.
They have plenty to do at conventions, and like they always have stuff to do. So being respectful with their time certainly helps.
Yeah, and when we pitched a game called Sunset Skyline last year, we pitched it super fast, and then the publisher were interested, and then we booked another time in the evening where they could actually play test the game for a full game, which brings us to contracts.
Yep.
Maybe
I just wanted to add, like, when we pitched last year, like one of the meetings that we had 30 minutes, and we were able to show them like 7 games during those 30 minutes.
Yeah, so one was talking and the other one was setting up the next game. And then when the pitch was done there, they just tear it down into the box and then set up the next game. So we just took turns in, like, yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was maybe day 3 or something.
When you pitch, like, if you're able to boil it down to a 1-sentence or 2-sentence pitch, that's amazing. Like, worker placement where your worker dies. Like, what is even that? Like, that will hook their attention. So, like, and that's a whole another keynote speak for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't make sell sheets anymore unless they request us to do them. We think videos are more efficient. There's, I don't know, it just takes so much time to make cell sheets. There's so many iterations, and there's always too much text on them. Okay, so after the pitch, as what happened with Sunset, they wanted to play it again, and then we were offered an option. We strongly encourage designers to work with options. This means that you will get paid for the publishers to exclusively look at that game for a certain period of time. So maybe during Essen, they say, oh, this is interesting. May we look at the game? And we say, oh, but we showed it to so many people. And they say, we will give you money. And you get to look at, they want to look at it until start of next year, maybe January or something.
Yeah, and they have the sole rights to look at the game. Like, we cannot pitch it to any other publisher during that time. And if we have already pitched to someone else, they have the rights to first refusal.
Yeah, so we will simply tell the other publishers that, okay, we signed an option with another publisher. I'm sorry, so this game is currently off the table, but if that changes, we'd be happy to let you continue to evaluate the game. Not everyone works with options, but it's super important. Like, we're not getting paid until the game is published. At least now we get something in advance.
Yep. We had one game signed, but we didn't get the advance because they pulled out before we actually signed the contract. We were discussing details in the contract, and we were all on board, but we didn't get the ink on the paper.
No.
So
and that was just a waste of time. We got paid nothing for it. And the game, we couldn't pitch it to anyone else because we thought it was for sure going to get published.
Yep.
Or signed.
Yep.
When I and Kenny design games, we can design the game to maybe 80-90% polish. We know that there's more stuff to be made to the game and balancing and stuff. So we always look for a developer in, like, if a publisher says, oh, we're interested, and we're like, okay, cool. Do you have a developer like in your studio that can continue to polish the game? Because that last part, those last 10% to fix the game, those take 90% of the time. Like, it's insane how much time it takes to polish things.
Yeah, and it really helps to have fresh eyes on it. Like, if you are the designer of the game, you will know the game inside out, and a developer needs to pull it apart and put it together again.
Yep. Yeah, and once you get to the contract, we compare them with our other contracts we have, but before that, we compare them with cardboardedison.com/reports. On that website, there is like industry reports. So these are easy to read. Like, what are fair royalty rates? And this is, I don't know how many, is it hundreds of people?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't remember, but
yeah.
But these are very good numbers to compare with. Like, the wholesale cut, like the price that the publisher get to selling to wholesale tends to land on like 5, 6, 7, or 8%. Like, so there's a lot of good reading here.
Yeah, so that you know that you're getting a somewhat fair royalty rate.
Yep.
And we use ChatGPT to ask the AI yet again, like, is something missing in this contract? Like, this is a board game contract. Does something stand out? And we caught a couple of things like that. For instance, like, there's no termination clause. Like, when does the contract end? Yep. So we needed to add that to one of our contracts, so that if something happens with their company, or they don't sell the game anymore, then we want the rights back, so that we may approach another publisher with like a second edition or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
we have some bonus material that we can show you, but if we have some time.
You have another 5 minutes if you
Oh,
want
cool.
to.
Perfect.
So that's nice.
We mentioned earlier that we don't usually work with the theme first design. We usually have a mechanical twist to a game or a structure or whatever. Yeah, mostly mechanical. But when we start with theme first, we found that the color wheel is a very good way to like set a direction for where the game should end up. So we will have links for all of the material that we show you for the tools that we use. But basically what this does is that we try to we use it as a post-it exercise, a post-it workshop where we use it. This is not ours, this is the example on the web page. So I will remove them because they are
it's very busy.
So, what we try to describe what the game should be about. What is the fantasy of the game? What is the setting? What is the lore? What are we doing? Kind of, and the toy factor is it's quite tactical as well, tactile, but it's also like what are the mechanics? What are we playing with? What's the fun part?
Yeah. Are we stacking discs? Are we rolling dice? Are we putting the polyminoes next to each other, making shapes? Like, what are we handling?
Exactly. And then there's the tension, the friction. I often go back to playing golf. Like, if you just take the ball and drop it into the hole, it's no problem to make a hole in one. But like putting the right amount of tension into the game, like hitting it with the club, that's perfect. If you were to hold the club with your teeth, it would be a very hard game. It would be too much tension. And then the fourth one is progress. We won't go too deep into the details, but in between these as well, in between the fantasy and the progress, there's purpose. The purpose for the players playing the game. And on the opposite side here, or not opposite, I guess, but on the progress and toy, that's the reward you get for doing things well in the game. Victory points or engine building stuff. So this exercise is great. We have a link here and on the final page as well. And by the end of such a workshop, it should end up something like this or even bigger. Like, what is progress in the game? Surviving longer, getting stronger, unlocking new abilities. Just brainstorm it out, or maybe even need to workshop it, like I did with the forestation game. We tried to map out. First, we did a lot of research. What it's the forest? What's the core tension in the forest situation? Where's the conflicts? And then we tried to map out what would progress mean in the game. What's actually moving forward, or even backwards, as it's a cooperative game, not losing. Yep, rambling.
Yeah, but it's a cool tool to use. Like if you have an idea and you have some core mechanic or core idea that you want to do more with it, then try to use that color wheel, because it's quite impressive what you will have at the end, because you will have defined moments in the game that you can design around.
And it will lead your design decisions in a direction, in not straying on all directions.
All right. This is all the tools we use.
1 minute, Kristian.
1 minute. We use Google Sheets for like when we make cards. So we need to make cards. We have an ID of the card, we have a description, and then we have maybe some text or whatever. And then we can import that into InDesign. So I use the Adobe Suite. It's very expensive. Kenny uses Affinity, not as expensive.
Not as good as well.
Again, you could probably do pretty stuff in Affinity as well. I'm not fluent in Affinity. I'm fluent in InDesign, Photoshop, and all of the Adobe stuff. And of course, we use Tabletop Simulator every Sunday when we play test games and just make iterations and quick changes and just draw on cards in TTS. then I have a bunch of like Humble Bundle. I bought a Humble Bundle before a couple of years ago that has a bunch of like icons and stuff. So those usually gets used in the prototypes. I'm not making icons from scratch. I'm just taking a boot. Now it's a move icon. And then when we make the pitch videos, we use, again, Tabletop Simulator, and then we use 11 Labs for the voice AI stuff. I'm going to show that soon. And add, again, Adobe Premiere to cut the film. And then we use OBS, which is Open Broadcast System. It's a free software that you can record your screen with. I think streamers use it on Twitch and stuff.
And we can show how these works after the break for the Q&A, and maybe show the pitch videos if you're interested as well.
Yeah, and then we try to identify like what are the most important tools we use for physical prototypes. And I have the paper cutter, the dolly cutter, so no scissors. And Kenny has like a pizza slicer for cardboard that is amazing.
Yeah, rotary cutter.
And then, of course, like abundance of pens. Like I can't have bad pens when I'm trying to like draw something. It can't be like my kids' felt pens. They have to be good. One thing we bought from Albin at Game Prototyper was pre-cut cards. So we have cards, but they are like in flimsy paper. Like at the first picture we showed, we just had a bunch of cards. That's just a stack of cards we could just take and start drawing on and then just go.
Yep.
And of course, an X-Acto knife for those pesky little tiles and tokens and stuff. We never work with circles anymore. Always squares. If we have a token, like a health, it's a straight line. No more circles ever again. And of course, we have meeples, cubes, dice, but nothing fancy. Like it's not important. Like you saw in the dungeon crawler, one of the meeples was a red dice. That was a dude. That was a dude walking. It was just a cube. And when we make the rule book, we use InDesign, Midjourney for like art stuff, ChatGPT for not spell checking, but for proofreading. And then Google Docs for the first drafts. There's a bunch of assets. I don't know what is assets, but links to different spaces where you can get websites where you can get icons.
Yep.
This is just what I have in my browser. Like if I need an icon, I just visit any of these, try to find something suitable. If I don't have it in my Humble Bundle kit.
Yep. And that's very short how we work. Like there's tons that we didn't mention, but it's running short of time. But
it's difficult to explain the whole process, right? Because some, like the pitch, we could go into detail how we do or practice the pitch and stuff, but it's, that's from start to beginning, and then,
I will be the first one to thank you for a great presentation, and I think we will open up for questions for about 15 minutes now, and after the questions we will have a short break of 10 minutes roughly, and after the break we will open up the discussion to anyone who wants to talk further on this subject, or if there's something else they want to discuss. Do anyone have a question? Then you can please raise your hand through the tool on the lower part of your screen. Or if I may start, I would really like to see that Tabletop Simulator import tool. If you would like to show it now, or
sure. Let me share my screen.
You can choose.
Let's see. I want the whole. Let's do this one. All right. So you can see this.
Yes.
So it's demonicgames.com/TTS. That's the link. I think it's also in the slide. I'm using a web server. I don't know if you guys are used with making websites or stuff, but when you make websites, you need to upload the files somewhere, right? So I have a web server, demonicgames.com/TTS, and that's where I have all of my assets. So we have these are some different projects we have. Let's do the Midsummer, for instance. So in this tool, I need to tell the tool where are the images located. So right now they're located at demonicgames.com/TTS/midsummer/ and I can call this Midsummer. And then I need to add a card deck. So there's three buttons we can use here. Add a card deck, add the tile set, or add token sets. These are basically the three things I'm using when I'm making stuff in TTS. So we add a card deck. And when I export my cards, I always make them quite short, the names of the cards. So it's like C for card, T for token. So the first card I have is called C. And the next card is C_2, C_3. So there's like a numbering. So I say, what's the face prefix? Does it show this, or is it too small? Let me make it bigger. C_. It's going to give me a preview of the cards. Confirm that, okay, we're on the right track here. We found the correct, what do you say? So we're not going to get errors because now we can confirm that this is actually a card. I can see that the C_ is a back. So I can say that about the card backs. I can say that, does it have unique backs? Meaning that each card has its own back. But right here, all of the backs have the same back. So I'm going to say same back. And the back is actually C_. So you need to keep track of what is the card. And you can see the name of the card as well. So C_.png is my card back. And I can check that these are the faces. So maybe this one only has 8 cards. That's one card. I can add another deck. So let's do the same with my characters, which is another deck of cards. I think it's called it's an O, objectives. And they have unique backs. I think it's OB. That is the back. That is not. This is not important. OF for some reason. That is the back of the card. How many cards are in the deck? This one has 43. So I say it's 43 cards. And I can verify that the cards are working like this. If I'm making too many, it will simply just, okay, fine. It had some old versions of the card before. But if it's too many, it will simply give us no preview, which it's just going to give us it's still going to import the cards into TTS, but it's going to give us an error as well. So let's say we had 42 cards. And when we feel finished, we say generate JSON. And then say download JSON file. This file is a save file in Tabletop Simulator. All of your saves are stored in documents, My Games, Tabletop Simulator, saves, and saved objects. All right. Well, let me cut the midsummer.json file from my downloaded files. My Games, Tabletop Simulator, saves, saved objects. And here I have a folder, Lemonic Decks. You can put it anywhere. Let's put it in my Lemonic Decks. and paste it in here. So now we have midsummer.json. If I now open up Tabletop Simulator, I go to Objects, Saved Objects, Lemonic Decks, and then drag in Midsummer. It's going to give me those 2 decks. One thing, I didn't rotate the cards properly in this export, so that's why some of this is going to look weird. That's on me, because it's in this one is in landscape mode. I should have rotated it when I exported the card. This is why it's what is it? Squished. So that's how we can. That's how I use this tool to get stuff into TTS super fast.
Really cool. Looks very useful.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's. I did that when I was at home with a sick kid, and I was vibe coding. So I was just using AI describing what I wanted, and apparently it's working. Like, it's super cool, these AI tools to make simple tools like this.
Okay. Do we have any other questions about what we have listened to today? Jasper?
Yes, you said a little bit about your pitching process and practicing pitches. And in my limited experience, I barely had time to do my pitch when I sat down for pitch meetings. People had already an idea, and it was like, okay, show us the game, let's play around. Like, what is your experience with that, and what is, like, can you give an example or describe more how you prepare and how much that's actually useful during meetings?
Well, we only show a sliver of the game. So when we have the game, like if we have a full game board of Karlskrona, for instance, we don't even fold up the game board. We just show them a sliver of the game board and show, like, this is what happens when you move the worker there, and then you push it off. That's the cool, neat mechanic of that game. That's basically the pitch, to see, like, are they interested in what we're doing? Most often, the games we pitch have some kind of novel mechanic to them. Not novel, maybe, but they have something that's easy to present.
It's kind of innovative. Something is new that they had never seen before. But you should bear in mind that publishers have played thousands of games and they've seen thousands of prototypes. So they are. If you say that it's a worker placement game, and then you could tell it some where it differentiates from the rest of the games, then they will understand that. They don't need to understand the whole game, but you just have to tell them what's unique, what's the fun part about the game.
Yeah. So if you have a resource management game, they're gonna know what that means, but then you just need to show them, why is this resource management unique? It's like, why? How are these resources managed in whatever method, like or cool, unique way? I don't know. But most often we have our pitches prepared. Like, we know we're not busting out all the cards. We're rigging the decks. We're just showing them one character out of 10. Like, it's super simple, just to see, like, do we have their interest or not?
Yep.
We don't want to waste their times. If they say, like, oh, we already have 10 worker placement games, we're not interested in that. We can tell immediately. We ask them, like Starship Troopers, would you like to know more? And if they want, then we continue and maybe show more of the game. But if not, then they pass, and that's fine. And then we show the next game.
Yep.
But most often before these meetings, we have prepared them and showed them the video and the rule book, so that they know, at least they get what do you say, påminnelse, that they
reminder.
Yeah, they get a reminder of, oh yeah, that's this game with that rule book or that picture or photo of the game.
And also, just to clarify, like, it usually takes at least 10. You have to have 10 reactions before you get a pass.
Yeah.
Most often, like it's nothing crazy. It's just they don't get the feeling of the game or whatever. We had one game last year that the first publisher they just, oh no, it's not for us, or they just passed on it, and the next publisher offered us an option for a game right on the spot. So it's like, just because it's not for that publisher, it's don't get discarded or whatever you want to call it. And also, I just want to say that if you want to show the game when it's fully set up and stuff like that, bring a photo. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And then you can point to it and show, like, this is where this goes and this is where the cool stuff happens. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's, if you're starting to set up your game, like at a pitch meeting, like doing the setup, following everything, you're doing it wrong. Like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're just gonna. I think, Kenny, you had a pattern. What do you call it? A binder.
Kind of like a portfolio.
Yeah, but with like just slivers of the game, like a piece of the game board. You just open it, and then you have like 5-6 components, and then you show what's happening here. So you're not even opening a box or anything. You're just opening up your binder that shows like a piece of the game board or a state of the game board, and you're manipulating pieces on that, showing how the resource management works. And then there's okay, that's neat or not, and then you just next page, and then there's another pitch for another game. Do you have that around you? No, or is it?
I don't think so.
But that's also one way to do it. If you have more complex games that requires a lot of setup, and also it's you stand out, right? People remember that, so you need to stand out in the right way, so that people want to see you again. And always, after a rejection, we always end with "May we show you more games in the future," and they always say yes. So just keep those doors open, even though you get rejections. I mean, some games we got Jackpot got rejected. Well, it got signed first, then it got dropped, and then it got rejected, like, I don't know, 10 times.
Yeah, something like that.
And we gave up on it, more or less. And then someone reached out on Reddit. Asked, is that game still available? Because there was a sell sheet from way back. And now it's signed with them. So that's amazing.
Okay. Do we have any final question from the crowd before we take our break? Okay, since no one is raising their hand, I will take a stab myself. You mentioned sell sheets before, that you don't really do them anymore. And have you had any backlash from any publisher about that? That they really want a sell sheet, or is it just, let's glad we didn't get a sell sheet this time. It's better with a video, or
no, I mean, no one has said that. I mean, sometimes they just say like, send us a sell sheet. But sometimes we don't even send them that. We send them a pitch video instead. And no one has said like, it has to be a sell sheet. But sometimes when we have pitched for some Stonemaier games, they have a form, I think. Some of these are less personal, and they just have a form, and then you have to have a sell sheet because that's what the form requires, and they're expecting it.
And from our experience, like, if you have the first meeting in person, then it's easier to pitch something through Discord and TTS or stuff like that later. And to get the first meeting at maybe Essenspiel, a convention, you usually don't have to have the sell sheet, in my experience at least. If you could just explain the game in 3 bullet points and maybe a picture of the game.
Yeah, you just need to get their interest. cell sheet is the standard, but for me, I think even though I'm fluent in these tools, it's just so important. Like it's so clear when a cell sheet isn't working. Like I can see it myself. Like I don't even want to read this. It's too much text. I'd rather just look at a 1 minute video. And it takes the same amount of time to do a cell sheet as it does for a pitch video now. Yeah. Should we do a break?
Yeah. Thank you very much for both the presentation and the question and answer session. We will take a break until 10 minutes to 10, and then we will be back with a more open discussion. And if you have any further questions for Kristian and Kenny, I think they are more than happy to answer them for you. And you can write your questions in the chat if you want to, or raise your hand as usual. And with that said, we will stop the recording now, and we'll see each other in 9 minutes. Thank you for joining tonight's SAGA session. If you are interested in joining more of these SAGA sessions, we will hold our next one the 1st of July, when Jasper de Lange will talk about his game Bohemians, which was published at an extraordinarily fast rate. It took 1 year from pitching it to the publication of the game. So stay tuned and keep an eye out in the SAGA Facebook page for information about our next session. Thank you.